if I win this election, I will bring charges of perjury against the 9/11 Commission for their cover-up of the fact that there were 3 towers that were blown up at 9/11, not just the Twin Towers. If you had known that there was a 3rd tower, World Trade Tower 7, a 47-story steel frame skyscraper that fell 8 hours after the Twin Towers collapsed, and no plane hit it, and it was not struck down by Al-Qaeda or Osama bin Laden, would you have allowed your government to send your boys chasing all over Iraq and Afghanistan after Al-Qaeda and Osama bin Laden, who did not blow up World Trade Tower 7? My question for the 9/11 Commission is this. Since no plane struck World Trade Tower 7, since it was not knocked down by Al-Qaeda or Osama bin Laden, who knocked it down? Why did they knock it down, and how did they knock it down? Did they knock it down the same way they did the Twin Towers, with demolition charges, and for the same reason, to provide an excuse to start the war in Iraq and Afghanistan? Since no plane struck World Trade Tower 7, why did it fall? Was there a magic wind, a magic tsunami, or very real demolition charges placed in the basement, which is what William Rodriguez, the last man alive on the World Trade Center, testified was the real cause of the collapse of the Twin Towers. He was an eyewitness. He was working in the tower. He testified. Bombs went off under his feet, pushing him up before the plane struck the tower. And William Rodriguez is not alone. A committee of 1,000 architects and engineers have testified steel frame skyscrapers are designed and engineered to remain standing, even if the entire veneer burns off and there's nothing left but the steel frame. And not one steel frame skyscraper has ever fallen due to fire in the entire history of the world, either before or after 9/11. That's the reason the firemen climbed up in the Twin Towers, to put out the fire at the 110th floor. Because they knew it was a steel frame skyscraper. It could not possibly collapse solely due to fire. The firemen knew steel melts at 2,600 degrees. Jet fuel burns at 1,800 degrees. Jet fuel is nothing but kerosene or charcoal starter fluid. That's all that it is. The firemen knew you could put a 4-inch thick steel girder, such as the girders in the Twin Towers, over a jet fuel fire for 40 days and 40 nights. And it wouldn't melt. Yet, the Democrat Republicans want you to believe that Darth Vader bin Laden magically melted a 4-inch steel girder in 20 minutes with charcoal starter fluid? Yeah, I believe that. Once upon a time in a galaxy far away. The Democrat Republicans want you to believe that for the first, the last, and the only time in the history of the world, Darth Vader bin Laden magically caused a steel frame skyscraper to collapse solely because of fire. Not once, not twice, but 3 times in one day. And one of the towers was never even struck with a plane. Now, Ripley might believe it or not, but I'll believe in Darth Vader and the Death Star before I'll believe the Democrat Republicans' tale that 2 planes knocked down 3 buildings. And listen to the Democrat Republicans' tale about the magical plane that struck the Pentagon and vaporized on impact. It sounds like something from Rod Serling's Twilight Zone. I paraphrase the Democrat Republicans' tale about the magical plane that struck the Pentagon and vaporized on impact, complete with Rod Serling's Twilight Zone music, because that's the only place this report belongs. The Democrat Republicans say, once upon a time, in a galaxy far away, Luke Skywalker and Darth Vader bin Laden magically maneuvered a slow-moving passenger plane, or magic carpet, we're not sure which, through the state-of-the-art air defenses of the most highly defended military installation on the face of the planet, to magically crash into the Pentagon, a veritable Death Star on Earth, with air defenses designed to shoot down cruise missiles or magic carpets, flying at 3 times the speed of sound at 3 top level, and magically, the entire plane, including the black box, the passengers' bodies, the luggage, the fuselage and wings, vaporized on impact, leaving not a hint that the plane ever existed. Yeah, I believe that. Once upon a time, in a galaxy far away. How about you? Now, you could believe the Democrat Republicans' tale about the 2 magic planes that knocked down 3 buildings, or the magic plane that vaporized on impact, Or you could believe April Gallup, who was an eyewitness to the attack. She was working in the Pentagon at the time of the attack, and although she was knocked unconscious by the explosion, she miraculously survived and exited the Pentagon by walking through the hole made by the blast. April Gallup is suing Cheney and Rumsfeld in court for, quote, complicity in the attack. April Gallup testifies under oath to the court that when she walked through the hole made by the blast, she saw no plane. Why would she lie? Spend all that money for legal expenses and court costs unless it were true. What are the Democrat Republicans hiding? Can anyone say USS Liberty? The question is not whether the Democrat Republicans would knowingly allow Americans to be killed in order to promote their political agenda, because we know the Democrat Republicans allowed 34 Americans to be killed on the USS Liberty in order to promote their political agenda. The question is, did the Democrat Republicans do the same thing they did on the USS Liberty on 9/11 and allow 3,000 Americans to be killed in order to promote their political agenda? Which is what happened, according to the eyewitness accounts of William Rodriguez and April Gallup. Testimony ignored by the Democrat Republicans because they already knew, because they did it to promote the war in Iraq. It takes thousands of people in the political media complex to cover up the evidence, but it only takes one person like William Rodriguez or April Gallup to tell the truth. The emperor has no clothes, but he does have the blood of 3,000 murdered Americans, 5,000 murdered American soldiers, and 2 million murdered Iraqis, Syrians, and Libyans on his hands. And he's still hiding out in plain sight in a mansion in Washington, Hollywood, or is it Crawford? If I win this election, I will bring charges of treason against the TV networks for their cover-up of the fact that there were 3 towers that were blown up at 9/11, not just the Twin Towers. And if they're proven guilty, we will confiscate all media assets through civil asset forfeiture, just as we confiscate the car used by the dope dealer in the commission of his crime. Once we, the people, own the TV networks, we will operate them as a public utility, like the police department, the fire department, or the court system. Imagine if the police department, the fire department, and the court system were run like the TV networks for the benefit of a private corporation. Well, the police would arrest one murderer, let the next one go. The fire department would have one fire, let the next one burn. And imagine if the court system were run like the TV networks for the benefit of a private corporation. And you were on the jury. You couldn't rely on the witness to tell the truth, the whole truth, under penalty of perjury. We want to make the rules of evidence the same on TV as they are in court. And the first person we'll call as a witness will be the TV network executives and George Bush. And the first question we'll ask will be, Mr. TV network executive, Mr. President, do you know of one single scientific report of a single case in the history of the world where a steel frame skyscraper collapsed solely because of fire? Other than the 3 times that the TV networks claim it happened on 9/11, what's he going to say? There is none, not one. Our TV network executives and our politicians are guilty of complicity in the murder of 3,000 Americans on 9/11. Our TV network executives and our politicians are our Osama bin Laden, and they deserve the same thing once they're tried and found guilty. Obama will not do this. Rubio will not do this. James Hart will do this. I'm James Hart, and I approve this message. Paid for by James Hart.